What the hell? Oh, that was hilarious.
I have no idea what's happening
Oops. Looks like he's done it to me again.
anymore. What's happening?
I don't know.
But you can still see me, right?
I could see you froze for a second.
This is what I'm talking about. I had this discussion, Jim. I'm not sure. Maybe everyone's gone now. To be honest, just keep talking
Yeah,
if that's okay.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
some people rejoin. I missed a large portion of what you were talking about, but people seemed enthralled. So them.
It was like watching a really, I don't know, really uncomfortable episode of what's that bloody show that
You looked very comfortable, to be honest. You looked
Enthusiasm.
like you were in full control. I was very impressed. Just
You
stand there
can't
like
see you can't see what's below the waistline, buddy. It's like I've shat myself.
Oh man, I'm fairly sure my daughter unplugged my router because it's in her bedroom and it was her bedtime. She switches her light off, and I think she
Yeah.
switched the wrong thing off. But yeah, but we're back. And we have viewers back as well. We have Kerry back, and we have Christian's there as well. Fantastic. So feel free to just go straight back into what you were talking about, mate.
What did we miss? I think I was rambling about stuff, but one of the things I did talk about is I came from an Excel background and just ignored Power BI for the longest time. I mean, when Power BI first came out, I looked at it and I went, "This is awful." It's like
what year was that?
I don't know. Was it 2005, 2006?
2006.
I can't even remember what year it came out now.
But that would be in Power View maybe. Yeah? I thought like Power BI started in like 2000, like teen something.
To tell you the truth, I don't know what year it is now.
Sometime after the millennium. Sorry, I don't know, but I know I started working it in late 2016, and I thought it was like the very early version was like 2012, but I could be very, very wrong. Someone will know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I take your point. You looked at it at first and it was complete garbage, so fair enough.
Yeah. Or I don't actually think it was ever complete garbage, but I think the thing that the evolution of Power BI has taught us Excel users is how damn good Excel is. And I think you'll get an argument out of people like George Camios from Portugal, who's a data-viz guy that I follow, whose name's probably pronounced Jorge, actually. It's probably not George, but his stuff's amazing what he does in Excel. So I think this is what drives a lot of my whinging is that I've been spoiled with Excel. Where I've been spoiled, where Excel's really, really bad, it's really, really bad. A classic example is the conditional formatting dialog box, which they never fixed. It was the best feature that never had a fully functional UI. And I think what drives some of my complaints is I'm worried that some of the stuff that I see baked into the product is going to become that conditional formatting dialog box where it's always going to be too hard to fix until it's unfixable. A classic example is some of the slicer stuff. I think I mentioned this before. The fact that the other day I was bitching that you do a search on a slicer. And you can't select all results, and it just drives me crazy. Or you want to hide the header of a slicer, and then it hides the little clear slicer search icons. So if you want users to be able to search a slicer, you've got to have the header visible. Why does that matter? Because screen real estate is king. I don't want a header above my slicer if I can put one to the left of it, move things up a little bit, and have a little bit more room to show trends.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that drives me crazy.
Yeah, I think and I think it's reasonable that it is the small stuff, because as you say, it's when you're creating a report and you've done all the big stuff, you've done the ETL, you've done your data transformation, you've done all the calculations. You're like, okay, now this is ready to go. I really enjoy making a nice visually interesting, at least. I try to make a visually good dashboard. Sometimes it might fail. Fair enough. But yeah, the headers are annoying. There are so many things that I see unintentionally hidden like the little eraser button from your slices and the drop down part. It just seems that, and it all seems like legacy stuff, that it was done
Yeah.
then and it hasn't really been stuff. So
And the problem is that
yeah,
stuff will just never make the cut on the ideas site. So you really need, and I'm sure there are passionate people with data viz there, but we hear about I don't know, the reach out that people have to the enterprise users, but all of us data viz people together, we're like a giant enterprise customer, and so I guess that's why I've never worried about being vocal, partly because I'm a loudmouth, but partly because I think that they need to see it. We need to remind Microsoft that that while enterprise customers may hate the fact that there's not measure-driven data labels, sorry, they might not mention the fact that there's no measure-driven data labels, or they might not mention the fact that slicer is bought. Who do they think at these enterprise customers is designing these reports? So
maybe because they switched a while ago from, they had this change in the idea site where not everyone could log in, right?
Yeah,
or not everyone could submit an idea. Or
they really balked it. So that it was on user voice, and they took it to some other internal platform, and they screwed it up. They made it so that you could only ever vote if you had an organizational account, and that's fine. I get why they did that, but then that caused what's called vote deflation, which means that the first maybe 5 pages of the ideas site are set in stone. No one can ever catch up with that lead because they were open for voting when anybody could vote. So the idea site's getting better, but I mean, just the other day I was yesterday, in fact, I was again looking at voting for the select all items from search and slicer, and you get a whole bunch of ideas come up, and they're all marked as a duplicate of one. But I'm like, I don't even want to see them. I just want to see one. And then because a whole bunch came up, I kind of went, well, what happens if I vote on all of them? Is it adding the vote somewhere? And at the same time, why the hell do we have to vote to have select all on slicer? Or add search results to current selection. It's a no-brainer. Sorry, Ben.
No, not at all, mate. This is what we get to discuss. The rant is good, mate. I mean, you hosted this thing on your own for a decent time, so you've earned the right to rant, mate. You go for it.
But I love the product. I mean, this is the funny thing. I absolutely love it. When was the last time? When I open up Excel now, I'm completely lost. I love the interaction of Power BI. I love DAX. It kills me. It's really, really hard. I think it was Alberto Ferrari the other day was saying DAX is a game, and I think that's why I like it, is because it's my new chess. I was never that great at chess, but in DAX it's almost the same. You're thinking several moves ahead, and the matrix is your opposition.
That's true. Interesting way of looking at it. I like it. I decided I'm not particularly active on the ideas side or the community side. I read it. I don't really contribute. And I thought the other day, I'll try and change that. I'll improve that. So I logged in and I went on the community site, and I was like, I'll try and answer a couple of questions, and it'll be nice just to kind of do it from the other side. And I found a question that I knew the answer to, and I wrote my answer and answered the question. And then I was immediately devastated. I know this is very petty, but I was devastated because I gave my answer, and then someone under me wrote, currently, it's not technically possible, and the only way to do it is as Ben described. And then that person's answer got marked as the answer, and I was devastated. I was like, that's not cool, man. Come on. And I was like, that's it. I'm in a huff. I'm going now.
I used to answer a lot of questions on Excel and VBA and Stack Overflow. And most of the questions I would answer, someone would go, how do I change this complicated sum product so that it also filters on country? And my answers would always be, use a pivot table, and it was always the best answer. Like, what the frick are you using a sum product for, you'd never get any kudos for it. In fact, you get marked down like it doesn't answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, I should try just Johnny says it is. I can't comment enough to say it's hard work because, like I said, I've really been more of a reader than a user. But I see your point. I think I've said this in the last one as well. I really should use the Reddit sub more, and when I say more, I mean even at all, because I think I've looked at it once or twice. I think it's just what you're used to. I think because when I started working with Power BI, I was all side, and I always say the trainings like the help section of most programs is complete garbage, right? But in Power BI, it's actually really good because it links you directly to the community side. And obviously with Googling questions, if you Google it correctly, you're always going to. So I've always just been going straight to the community site, you know. So I should familiarize myself with the Reddit. So it is easy. It follows this more of natural chain of question answer, question answer. I don't know.
I just ask Phil C-Mark.
I don't know.
I've got it's like the bat phone, I pick it up. Hey Phil.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
me and also, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, our user group's amazing, right? So Phil is on the user group and is one of the admins, as is my friend John Kapoor. And John's he's not so active on Twitter as me, but he's a great guy and he's really, really good at DAX too. So it's incredibly helpful to have two people like that to pick on.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm pretty jealous of that, to be quite honest. I don't know. I think
who
would hate me.
Spam Matt Allington too. Like, hey Matt, how do you?
That's pretty cool.
This? Yeah.
Thank you very much for this comment, by the way. They might strip me of the title after this particular podcast or whatever we're calling it, live session. We'll see. But yeah, hey, just going back to the book that you just held up, mate. I was speaking to Phil last week, obviously, but before we went live, or maybe after, I can't remember. He was saying that you almost have an Excel book.
Oh my God! So don't remind me. It was the best of
Too late.
I tried to write an Excel book, and it was called Excel for Superheroes and Evil Geniuses, and it was really about using mainly tables and pivot tables instead of some products, but also some real cool VBA. So I wrote a lot of VBA to do amazing stuff with pivot tables, and it was just at the time that kind of Power Query was taking off and Power Pivot was taking off. And I kind of originally, when I started writing it, I kind of wrote, these things are too niche for this book, and as an intro, so they're not going to be covered. And then it took me a while to kind of write the book, and then I kind of thought, well, they're not really niche. I think they're going to be really, really big. So I thought I'll just do a bit of study into them and find out, the bare minimum I need to write about Power Query and Power Pivot. Without, putting too much time into it. So I could just write an introductory chapter. And the more I dug into it, and this is probably the same time that I started paying attention to Phil's presentations at the Power BI user group, I kind of went, but all this other crap that I've written is now redundant. Why would I use VBA, or why would I use old pivot tables? And so I kind of just let the book go. I spent like 6 months of my life on it. It's really good. It's really, really great. Yeah. But it's like, I never use that crap anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's true. But a lot of people do that, I mean,
yeah.
There are a huge number of users who don't touch any Power Query, none of that,
You're right. And so, I mean, look, one of the reasons why I got the moniker Insights Machine on Twitter is because I wanted a website about training people, and I kind of thought, oh, let's turn you into an insights machine. It wasn't about me being one, and I've got the insightsmachine.com domain, and I've just been meaning to release it. And I think
cool.
I'm just going to put everything from the book on there as a blog. Even though I'm no longer in the Excel world, there's some real cool formula stuff in there,
That's good. And also, just so you know, it's a really cool URL, by the way. So definitely, I googled it before we started, and there's actually, I think there's a Spanish or a Spanish language consultancy company called Insights Machine. So don't give up your URL; they will take it off you.
In fact, I'm just. It was a while since I bought it. I wonder if I renewed it. I'm just checking
it out, mate. It's funny, actually. I wrote down some questions before the start, and I think one of the first ones was what is the insights machine? Is it you or what is it? So you've answered that. I lost my questions because when my internet went down, I panicked and I had to restart.
Yeah.
And if anyone who
well, I mean, I think that's why I like Power BI is because Power BI is the insights machine, or it should be. And again, this is probably why I'm so vocal. It's because I want it to be more of an insights machine. This is why someone asked me while you were away why I love these guys so much, Zebra BI, is because I think they help Power BI be an insights machine. I mean, probably InfoRiver does too. I haven't tried it. I think that's why I'm so interested in things like measure-driven data labels, because they help us to be an insights machine. There's other things too, like, so there's things that still annoy me about Power BI, and a classic example is when you've got a multiple line series in a chart and you mouse over it and it highlights all the points vertically. Sometimes I want an entire series to be highlighted. I want an ability to be able to choose whether I'm highlighting all series at a point or the series all along. And the reason is because I want the thing to be a better insights machine.
That's really cool.
This is what it's for.
When I rudely disappeared, did you cover this question? What are your hopes and expectations for the whatever this coming up event is?
Well, that was my answer. Is what's coming up again? I don't know. I can never remember whether it's MBAS or Ignite. I mean, I
think it's Ignite now.
I don't care about any of those things until something lands on my desktop. Until I can play with it, why would I care about some announcement?
They might be updating and releasing all the things. They might be updating and releasing a measure-driven data label. That's why you should care about them, mate. And you're the first one to see, like, oh wow, no, it's coming. I'm so excited. That being said, I've been waiting all year, and this answers the question partially for me. I've been waiting all year for this new buttons. When you create a navigation pane for the buttons. I think they mentioned this back in May, maybe.
Oh, look, I've heard of this, so yeah. I'd be interested, but whatever time it's on, I'm not going to get up early in the morning and watch it. I mean, me and John used to get on and we used to play donut chart bingo, which is when is the first donut chart going to appear behind James Phillips, is it? I forget his name. Like, hire some data viz people. Don't put up the donut chart.
The last one I joined, I forget what it was. I think I joined it and I felt like I was tripping and like I dropped some acid or something, because there was like some kind of virtual reality kind of weird rave going on in the background. It felt like that scene in the Matrix, the bad Matrix, where they're all like banging the drums and stuff and they're dancing. And so it was a really weird moment. I was like, what's happened right now? What have I clicked on the wrong button? I've gone to the wrong thing. But it was quite unusual. I don't join as many as I should because I forget about them, to be quite honest. It's like, yes, I'll
to be clear, you haven't actually taken acid, right?
I'm scared. Just so you know, my internet seems to be like going up and down. So if I disappear again, it's not because I'm just being particularly rude today. It's because I'm having just German internet.
Yeah.
I think it was this morning or yesterday. I dropped out of a Teams call and I checked my my download rate, and it was at 7.
One of the things that I'm worried about is about Ignite or MBAS or whatever the heck it is that they're going to show spark lines and they're going to be square. I'm going to lose my rag if if they show square spark lines where you can't change the aspect ratio. It's like,
Well, according to Phil last week, he wrote the whatever it is that he wrote and he sent it back. So I've felt faith in Phil, So, and again, you have direct contact. So if that happens, you know who to blame, right? But I doubt a square spark line. Is that what you said?
Yeah. They're not supposed to be.
I've never seen a square spark line.
Yeah, nor have I. The only place I've seen a square spark line, like where the aspect ratio is completely square, is in Microsoft's spark lines.
I see what you mean now. Okay, yeah.
Phil does tell me that it was something that he mocked up in an afternoon, and then he's not a data viz guy. So
true, that's a good point. I never thought about that. You're quite right.
Phil learned long ago not to listen to me, just to nod.
Just nod and smile, right?
I think he's passed that on internally.
I'm sure he might try it. He tried to annoy back, but he can't. It still gets through. Don't worry about it, mate. Oh man, but so you got your measure in there. What about you mentioned that your would be dream if Power BI or Microsoft purchased Deneb, but you also mentioned Zebra, right? I mean, if they purchased Deneb and
Oh
Zebra,
yeah,
that's
look, I think it'd be amazing if I mean Microsoft can't pick winners, and I do realize every time I mention Zebra BI, not that I'm getting paid for it, but I'm I'm stealing the oxygen from probably other very very worthy visuals. But gosh, if they purchase that thing and bundle it into a premium license, it would make me very very happy.
I've got to ask about because I know the visualizations are of course fantastic. I know this. So this is just posed as a question, and it's in no way meant to be derogatory towards Zebra. But from what I understand, my issue is always like if you look. I mean, all the company that I work for, bear in mind, uses pro licenses. We don't have premium because we just don't need it. Yeah, regard the number of people who are using the tool, it'll be too much. So I'm also saying like if you're paying like per pro license roughly €8 per person per month, and then on top of that you're using, is it not like €5 per person per month also for
Yeah,
Zebra?
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lot, no?
You're right, but what you're missing, and it's a hard sell for Zebra, but what you're missing is what's the cost of someone like me? I mean, I could work for a month of Sundays trying to do half the stuff. I could never do a really decent integrated variance chart unless, of course, I was probably using Deneb. But we're not all going to suddenly become Deneb users. I mean, the point is that, and again, this comes to the point of the product is we shouldn't be judging the product on what we pay for it. We should be judging the product on what we get out of it.
No, but our managers do though, mate, don't they?
Yeah, I know, and it's really, really hard. I mean, I'm really lucky with my NZ US trade dashboard thing that I do. It's published to web. It's public data. So at the very, very least, if you are I don't know, doing publish to web data, you can buy the smallest amount of Zebra
That's
BI
true.
licenses, which is a bundle of 5. You can stick your stuff on the web because there's no licensing for that. Well,
Exactly. That's
it's
true. That's very good.
included in the license, and you can do amazing stuff. I think, and I've been thinking about this for where I work. So I've recently joined a much larger organization,
Cool.
and I've been thinking about how I can introduce Zebra there because I just believe that it's the ROI is really really big, and I think well maybe I could stick it in a workspace, attach it to a workspace so that anyone who uses dashboards for that particular workspace has to be licensed for Zebra BI. No one else in the organization has to be, so maybe it would keep the costs manageable. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's fair. That's a good point. It's a good point.
there's a cost,
Johnny's asking, how good is the free version of Zebra? I've never.
I think there's some cool stuff. You know what? It's something I need to look at again. I mean, I think even the Zebra BI table. I think even the I need to check, but I think the table's really good for starters. I mean, the table does something that data bars and a graph doesn't. I mean, again, this is. I don't mean to rag on Microsoft all the time, but
No, I think I do. It's fine.
I like tables. I like data bars and tables, but as soon as you put a data bar in a table, it obscures the numbers that are in the tables.
That's true.
And so you've got to make the data bar light enough so that you can see the number. So straight away, the presentation of the implementation of data labels is determining what color you use in visualizations, and that's ridiculous. Now, the Zebra BI table, the free version of the table, I'm pretty sure has the bar and has the number at the end of it, and I'm like, great, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Actually, I like your point. I never thought about that. If you have, just going back to the cost thing. Sorry, if you have a certain small user group of, for example, your C levels, your CFO and your CEO, and they want these sort of things, and maybe you create a small user group and you only have you need to only have a few licenses. Therefore, it's not like the company-wide reports, just rather these. That's a good point. I thought about that. Maybe I'll try to push for that just so I can use them a little bit because it's always fun to use something new,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the work I've done with this trade stuff, but it is Zebra. Without Zebra, it wouldn't be as good as it is. I mean, I've done a whole lot of really cool data modeling behind the scenes, and there's things, it's funny. I mean, Andres, he kind of sometimes he really slams my choices of his product privately. He's
Really?
like, why would you do it this way? We have these really, really great arguments.
No way, that's awesome.
I really like about Andre is that he's really straight up. But you know what I like about Zebra? It's just how much they've thought about the UI, and I don't know, they'd listen to me. So I make suggestions and they implement them in the product. And sometimes I make a suggestion and they'll go, that's a great idea. And they'll implement it in the very next release or the one after. I'm like, holy crap, the turnaround's great.
Yeah.
Limited number of users. Yeah, great, Christian. It's good to hear it. Limited number of users licensed.
No, I think it's something that I'll look at because, like I said, I've always wanted to use it, but to be honest, I spent the first couple of years working Power BI trying to sell Power BI, as in we should be using this, we need licenses, and then once we got there, I was just kind of like, I think I need a break of trying to push something to be sold. People have taken it on, and it's now. Then it's to say, by the way, cheers, Johnny. Have a good one. Now that maybe give them like a rest.
The thing with Zebra or Deneb, or I'm sure InfoRiver, is there are all other things to learn. So like Zebra BI has its own learning curve. I mean, it's not massively steep, but I kind of cottoned on in the early days, and Andre saw that I was a passionate dude, and so he gave me a lot of one-on-one help. It's like not everybody gets the ear of the CEO when they go, shit, why can't I get the product to do this?
I think it's one of the, if you don't, as you say, they obviously do add value for sure, right? It's not like it's impossible to use Power BI without them, of course, and it's just going to be the same with the net. But they're there, and if you want to learn, if you're the sort of person who enjoys learning, then they are there to be used, and of course they're going to be beneficial to you. It's like there are so many aspects of Power BI like that. You can also say the same thing essentially of Tabular Editor. You don't have to use it. You can build great reports without it, but it's going to make your life a lot easier. If you do so, it's going to give you more possibility, give you more flexibility. You just have to put in the effort to learn it. And I think
the hard thing about the Power Platform is there's so much effort required to be good at all of it. And I mean, one of the things I often rail about it on Twitter is job ads where they expect you to have everything, and so again, this is why it's hard to pick up something like Zebra or Deneb. Is you go, great, I really want to master this, but I'm still trying to master DAX, Power Query, Tabular Editor, DAX Studio. I've got a million SQL BI videos to watch. I've still got Phil Seamark's book sitting unread, and I haven't actually read your book. It's like
you let that one slip.
I'm trying to get to grips with the admin portal. How does this work? Geez, what's the next? It's exhausting.
Yeah, I don't. If someone ever said to me, like I'm an expert at every element of Power BI, I'd be like, no. In general, I don't trust anyone who claims to be an expert on themselves anyway. But to be an expert of every single element, I think it would have required literally no sleep since like 2016, 2017, maybe. It's just because once you feel like you're getting good, you're getting confident. It's like, oh, you've brought in this massive new thing, and it's a complete game changer. And it's like, learn that now. You're not an expert anymore. So okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I love doing all these things. I love learning them. I was speaking to someone before, and I said, I feel very, very people who my job is also my hobby, but nevertheless, it is sometimes a little bit overwhelming, especially when you feel like you kind of have to know these things. If you position yourself to be a go-to person for a tool, then you kind of feel a little bit of pressure sometimes when you not knowing the answer, but not knowing anywhere near the answer, or there's a new element that is just so fresh, or you've completely overlooked it.
Oh, look, I'm sure your work week is like mine, which is a work week, and then there's the rest of the weekend and the nights you spend watching frickin' videos on this, that, and the other to try and work out, or trying to keep abreast on Twitter. It's like getting good at Power BI is exhausting. It's an addiction. I find it's an addiction. I mean,
it is.
My wife thinks I'm seeing someone else.
Okay, I fully know what you mean in that regard. I vividly remember I was fresh with Power BI, sitting up until 4 a.m, very, very frequently on my laptop, just working out what the hell was going on and how to do things. And my wife was like, "Are you ever coming to bed?" And I was like, "Probably not, to be honest. I just don't
Well,
think
I
it
used
is."
to. Mine used to make me go to bed, and then I would sit there and I'd just wait until I could hear her gently snoring, and then I'd sneak out again. And I'd go and sit at the computer. It was when I was learning VBA, mostly, but and then do another like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Shit, I've got to go to bed.
Yeah. This is very, very true. Knowing where to look is the way to go. It's true.
Guy on
I
the tube.
mean, yeah. I mean,
Actually, that's something. That's something that's worth pointing out, is that you may never see me in the comments on a Guy on a Cube live stream, but that's only because they happen at the wrong time. They need to make those guys get up and do it when it suits me. It's one of the hard things about being in this time zone. But I love
yeah. I
that show.
think it's great. I think it's normally the stream. I think it's, for me, it's normally like Saturday early afternoon or something like that, and it's like for prime time, like wife and kids time. Like during the day, out and about. I think I've managed to make like 3 ever. They are really good. I like them a lot. They need more advertising because no one's heard of this guy in the cube now. So really spread the word.
Tristan says keeping up to date 100% is a full-time job. Well, not keeping up to date is a full-time job as well, I can tell you.
It is, though. Really it's true. Again, it feels like loss sometimes, but I mean, 4:30 time. Yeah, I think the only people who put pressure on us or whomever to keep up with everything and know everything is just ourselves, really. I think, for me, I think a lot of the time you learn something because of the fact that it comes up in a project and you need to do something and you don't know how. So okay, I'll learn to do that now. I mean, for me, going back to the classic calculation group thing, I had to learn that because I came to a point where there was something that I literally couldn't do without it. So okay, so there you go. Keeping up with
it's also looking at his heroes. I mean, it's looking at the likes of looking at Matt Allington present, or the SQL BI guys, or Phil Seamark, and you just go, oh, they make it look so easy. Like why can't I do that? Probably because you're trying to do other things as well.
Yeah, no, it's very, very true, but good fun. I think I always feel happy to be using Power BI. This is classic. I've been working with APIs this week. I love working with APIs. I'm planning, I've made a video a few weeks ago about API. I'll create a second one this week. APIs are so just frustrating and fantastic, and you get such a feeling of achievement with an API because, for me, sometimes
I wonder if James is talking about the scanner APIs.
Excuse me. Yes,
that Weir Romano uses.
Yeah.
And among other things. So I've just started working at this company where they've had Power BI. They've rolled it out, but they've never done any training on it. They haven't actually even adopted it as their official BI tool. So there's been people using it out in the wild, and there's no kind of centralized managed use of it before, so it's being used by projects. And so it took far too long for me to get this Roy solution put in, but it was put in last week, and I've been digging through the logs of it and going, oh my God, here's someone with a 360 megabyte file that's feeding 10 other reports, and all the data into it is all CSV files on a C drive. And I never would have seen this without having access to those scanner APIs. So one of the things I'm doing at the moment, which I'm quite excited about, is I'm trying to make Roy's solution, the data does work a bit more for me to track down the things that I want to see about what's going on and this kind of thing. But it's interesting.
Yeah, that's actually again, these are some of the things that I've never touched. Like actually the APIs within the, I've never touched those, to be honest. I've had a look at them and really didn't have time to get into it.
You don't have to. Roy's done it for you. All you need to do is I was going to say all you need to do. You need to bribe somebody in your organization to do the PowerShell stuff and to get whatever security sign off. I mean, it should take I don't know, 5 minutes to do, or half an hour or something or other. But it took me a long time to get it through the process at work. I mean, really, what Microsoft needs to do, and hopefully they will do now that they've hired Roy to the CAT team, is they need to work out how can we make this stuff easy for non-admins to see what's going on across different workspaces, or even admins.
Definitely. Yeah, very true. So, who was this person? Roy? What was this? The surname?
Roy. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. Another Portuguese person, Roy de Romano, who's recently. It's called Power BI Monitor. He's got a fantastic presentation. I think it's called Power BI Admin 101, or someone will stick something in the chat.
Very cool.
It's great.
Yeah, it sounds very, very helpful. Yeah, what Bernard says is, true.
Yeah, so I mean, this is my world. Is I was just a dude that made Power BI reports, and now I'm turning more into trying to understand. I mean, this is why I signed up with where I'm working, is because they've got premium, but no one's monitoring it, and it's I've got access to the admin portal. So for the first time ever, I'm a Power BI admin, and I'm trying to work out, what do I do? What do I care about? It's interesting.
Yeah, that's just true. We're using it so you can really discover the elements that you're into, and not just, do I like, DAX or it's actually, am I actually interested in this entire different world, as Bernard said. It's a completely different, it's just totally different. It feels like it could be essentially like a different job, Yeah. Ciao, Kerry. It was nice that you joined us twice. But true, actually, that's a good point. It's getting a little bit late for everyone, and I'm gonna have to go downstairs now and spend some time with my wife, because usually I'm finished by 15 minutes ago, but because of my router being unplugged or whatever happened there, it went on a bit longer.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to a real verbatim data god, Ben. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. No, thanks for joining. Thanks everyone for joining the chat. I always really, really enjoy these. Really, really good fun. I always learn something. I did this week for sure, and I very much enjoyed getting to know you, Jeff. It was nice that to put a voice and a different face to the person who's vocal in my timeline. And
I'm going to start being a little bit less vocal, and I'm going to start blog. I used to do a lot of blogging at site called Daily Dose of Excel on VBA and Excel. So I'm going to dust off that Insights machine, hopefully within the next month.
Cool. And look forward to it.
Because I've been using Twitter as a blog, and it's a lousy blog platform. So hopefully you'll actually see some actual usable content that you can rediscover again about my approach to data and data applications.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah, great news indeed. I agree with Bernard. So goodbye, everyone. Take care. And next week, by the way, I'll just before we go, I always mention this, or I always try to mention it. Next week we'll have on Shannon Lindsay. It will be at the earlier time of 5 o'clock CEST, because it's in the US. And so anyway, be early next week. Hopefully see you then. But thank you very much for this session, and you, of course, too, Jeff. It was wonderful. And see everyone soon.
Message-driven data labels.
Bye.